commercial airline industry first captured the public imagination as a symbol of luxury and sophistication, promising travelers an exclusive experience of class and style above the clouds. Today, this luxury has become routine, a cornerstone of consumer culture. Through point systems, loyalty programs, and private jets, a sense of status has reemerged, driving excessive flying. This cycle, fueled by capitalism, competition, and consumerism, has serious environmental consequences, from CO2 release to noise pollution. Tonight, we'll explore the airline industry's devastating natural impacts, tracing the evolution of flight and discussing a future that could redefine humanity's relationship with the skies. I'm not Scott Pelley. This story and this story alone on tonight's 15-minute edition of 68 Minutes.
In 1903, the Wright brothers forever changed travel with the first successful airplane flight. By the 1920s, commercial airlines marketed flying as a luxury, catering to leisure and business travelers alike with an image of opulence and exclusivity. United Airlines brochures highlighted comfortable seats and gourmet meals, creating passenger loyalty among the upper classes. This changed following the 1978 Airline Deregulation Act, which raised competition between airlines and reduced ticket costs, making air travel accessible to the masses. As the prestige of flying faded, airlines developed a new way to sustain consumer interest. In 1981, American Airlines launched AA Advantage, the first frequent flyer program to reward miles with points redeemable for free flights and seating upgrades. Today, 38 million people participate in such programs, linking miles and purchases to elite status and exclusive perks, fueling consumerism and excessive flying. Private jets have emerged as the pinnacle of status-driven travel. Used by just 1% of the population, these short-haul flights prioritize convenience and prestige over necessity, reflecting the broader drive for exclusivity within consumer travel. Whether through commercial flying or private jets, the pursuit of status comes at significant environmental costs. Every mile flown or point accrued corresponds to a series of environmental consequences. Flying's environmental impacts begin with its significant contribution to carbon emissions, a driver of climate change. Aircraft engines burn immense amounts of jet fuel, producing CO2 as the main byproduct. Aviation accounts for approximately 2.5% of all CO2 emissions. A round-trip flight from London to New York, for example, produces 1.5 and 2 tons of CO2, approximately equal to a year of heating and electricity in a European home. Within commercial flights, the environmental cost escalates with status. First-class passengers produce a carbon footprint up to 9 times larger than those in economy, due to the space, weight, and luxury amenities they consume. Private jets emit even more. Despite being used by less than 1% of the global population, they contribute to 50% of total aviation emissions. For example, Taylor Swift's 170 jet flights between January and July of 2022 emitted 8,000 tons of CO2, which is more than 2,000 people would produce in a year. Yet, CO2 is only part of the story. High-altitude emissions of nitrogen oxides form ozone in the lower atmosphere, worsening smog, reducing air quality, and trapping heat. Contrails and cirrus clouds intensify aviation climate impact by trapping heat and increasing CO2's warming effects. Noise pollution from takeoffs and landings disrupts human sleep patterns, raises stress levels, and contributes to cardiovascular issues in humans, while chronic noise interferes with wildlife communication, migration, and mating patterns. Natural habitats critical to ecosystem health are often cleared for runways, terminals, and access roads to accommodate increasing passenger and cargo demand, leaving habitat fragments in place of what were once continuous ecosystems.
Just as the extent of these innumerable environmental impacts varies with travelers' class, the magnitude of natural destruction is influenced by the size and status of the airport itself. Although airports with frequent flights and international trips generate the most significant amount of pollution, think Athens International Airport, even smaller spaces that concentrate on domestic travel still contribute greatly to environmental destruction. The small Piedmont Triad International Airport here in Greensboro, North Carolina, provides a clear example. With 1.7 million seats filled, 280 million pounds of cargo transported, and an estimated 1,400 yearly departures, GSO is evidently commercially active. To accommodate this commercial activity, the airport has recently expanded to include the construction of a new 9,000-foot runway, which required the filling of approximately 24 acres of wetland, critical ecosystems that support biodiversity, water filtration, and flood control. The airport services have also extended to include the taking off and landing of private jets, adding to the airport's appeal to the ultra-wealthy and increasing the extent of emissions released. The airport's impact, though, extends beyond emissions and habitat destruction, affecting nearby communities and ecosystems through noise pollution. Areas around GSO have been reported to exceed 65 decibels, a threshold linked to disruptive human and wildlife effects. As one of thousands, Piedmont Triad International Airport exemplifies the environmental challenges posed by airports of all sizes.
Addressing aviation's environmental toll and combating the pool of incentives requires systematic and behavioral changes. One approach is carbon offset programs like carbon credits, which can be purchased to compensate for emissions by funding a project like planting trees. Another approach employs psychology to discourage flying. Nudge theory, for example, proposes how seemingly small changes in the way that choices are presented can inspire sustainable behavior.
So, what is your perspective on carbon offsetting?
If we understand that what is causing the problems are individuals, then the offsetting of the individuals, that could be a very good way to make sure that individuals feel better about themselves from a moral perspective.
Right.
But I don't think that will be a very meaningful way to fix the systemic issue that carbon use is causing.
Right. There's a difference between actively reducing versus offsetting.
Yeah, because offsetting means that you have to buy things. You have to spend more money, and that means that ultimately what we are is just economic agents. And whenever we think about carbon offsetting, what happens is that we are reducing our moral approach and our political approach to basically just buying or selling things.
And can you talk a little bit about nudge theory and how it relates to environmental issues?
The idea of a nudge is to consider the reality of how you make decisions. However you decide or think about how rational we are, think about your emotions. So let's truly understand empirically how you decide. So what we do is we take these type of irrationalities and we try to make them part of public policy. How do we do that? We make a specific type of options salient.
Yeah. So how would that relate to air travel? Right now we have things like frequent flyer miles and a bunch of programs that are trying to incentivize flying. So how could nudge theory be used to make some of the more salient options, as you put it, like better for consumers?
Imagine by default you create some type of algorithm that shows you the shortest and more environmentally friendly flight. Right? The idea is to try to force companies to develop algorithms to favor those flights that are going to be shorter and more environmentally friendly.
What role do you think that the government or institutions should play in promoting sustainable travel practices?
The problem is how we use incentives. Regulate so companies can favor this type of shorter distance trips, update the airplanes so they're more environmentally friendly.
I'm just curious to see your perspective on where private flights would take, private jets and things would fall into this story. Obviously their environmental output is much more severe than commercial air travel, but I don't know. I'm just curious any thoughts you have.
The market, through taxation, can regulate this. Okay, maybe we start to regulate about the type of flights or machines that you're flying and how they can be fueled. Maybe the money that we collect is going to be to develop solar farms in different continents.
Do you have any other thoughts about air travel and making it more sustainable in the future?
If you have to fly, you should be able to fly, and you should do it in an environmental way. You can encourage that with education, but yes, so you can encourage that with some type of regulation towards the companies so they promote environmentally friendly routes.
Flying, once a luxury, has become a routine activity that disproportionately contributes to climate change and environmental degradation. From the frequent flyer chasing elite perks to the ultra-rich traveling in private jets, continued pursuit of status has devastating costs. Solutions like carbon credits may seem promising, but such a system continues the capitalistic cycle by commodifying environmental responsibility, purchasing a way out of a meaningful environmental change and perpetuating environmental destruction. However, education and regulation, implemented through nudge theory, for example, can guide sustainable behavior and make the environmentally friendly option the default. Air travel needs to be redefined, not as a game to gain status or a way to demonstrate luxury, but as a means of practical travel that prioritizes sustainability and shared responsibility.